Hello, welcome everyone. It's been a long time, about 180 days or so since my last video, and like 4 months since I started working on it again. I was feeling really burned out at the time. I was overthinking a lot of systems in the game and a lot of other things that happened, so I stopped for a little bit. But I've been working on it for 4 months, like I said now. So I want to show a little bit about the progress. I decided to record my voice instead of using an AI this time. Just I thought it was gonna be easier and faster. And I don't think I'm gonna be able to cover everything anyway. So let's get into the game and see what I've been working on. Okay, so here we are in game. As you can see, I improved all the art. I drew everything from scratch. I wasn't really liking how it looked before. It was very flat. So I started everything from scratch. The interface, the props, the tile set, and the backgrounds, everything. I'm not an artist, so I'm very proud of what I did here. But besides that, I wanted to show this next system that is the first system of upgrades that I added to the game. Since this is gonna be a roguelike, it's only fitting that it has some systems that make your character a lot stronger throughout the game. So you're gonna encounter these altars every X amount of rooms throughout the game. These altars are gonna offer you a number of blood samples or infusions, which are randomized. They can come in tiers as well, and they have randomized modifiers, positive modifiers for your character. For example, this adds physical damage to the attacks, and more blade duration, etc. You can pick one of these, the one that you like the most or is better for your build at the time. For example, this one is pyro damage 20%. You can pick this one, but as you can see, every infusion has potentially corrupt modifiers as well. When you reveal one of these infusions, which you can only reveal one, is gonna show the modifiers that are corrupted, and you can get between 0 and 3 modifiers depending on the tier. And you can get lucky and get no corruption, or you can get the maximum corruption. So the risk reward element of this is picking one that is good for your build, and you get something that is not really that detrimental for your build. For example, this one reduces the crit damage. If you're not a crit build and you don't care about crit, you can take this one. But as you can see, each corruption, if it has corrupted modifiers, is gonna corrupt a portion of your health, your maximum health, this part that is blinking here. So if I infuse myself with this blood, it's gonna cut my maximum health up to here. And the more infusions that you infuse yourself with throughout the game is gonna be capping your health, making that decision of, oh, should I take this new infusion that gives me a lot of damage, but it's gonna cut my health by 10% or so. That's one of the decisions that I wanted to add. But also you can ignore it. You don't have to infuse yourself with whatever you picked at the altar. Of course, that is fixed for that altar, so you have to check on the next one. But if you decide to infuse yourself, it's gonna cap your health. It's gonna fully heal you. That's also another incentive to infuse yourself. And the infusions are gonna show in this in the main menu where you see the techniques and the stats. You can see all the infusions, and you can see all the stats reflected on the player stats, whatever infusions and techniques you have. Of course, right now you can only apply infusions and the altar closes after you do it, but I plan on adding a way to remove infusions in the future, because I feel later on in runs it's gonna be really tough to manage the infusions that you selected maybe early in the run and you don't care about anymore later. Maybe a system to remove them will be nice, but that's for later. Now I want to talk a little bit about the next system, which is the shop. So this is the vendor guy. You're gonna encounter him randomly, just like the altar, every X amount of rooms throughout the run. He's gonna sell you techniques for blood, which you get by killing enemies throughout the run. Now the shop is only showing 4 things right now, because there's only 5 skills in the game, so she's only showing these 4. But he's gonna show a randomized assortment of techniques from all the skills available in the game, and he's gonna show a preview here, a small GIF of how the technique works. So you don't want to purchase. So you don't are not gonna end up purchasing something that you don't like how it plays or how it feels. Now let me add some blood with a debug command, so I can purchase something. You know, once you purchase something, you're gonna be able to use them, depending of what type of technique. If you are full with the techniques that you have, you're gonna be able to switch them. Once I add more techniques, of course I only have 5 right now, but once you add them, you can start using them. They have different costs, different stats, which you can check here in the main menu. You can see all the techniques that you have, all the parts of the combo that it has, because some techniques can have multiple combo, like this one has an aerial combo and a regular combo. You can also check all the stats of the player, like all the modifiers affected by the infusions and the techniques. And every technique is gonna be oriented in different attributes. For now I only have physical, pyro, frost, and shock attributes, and I have one of each, I believe, so I can test it. But of course the most important part is the combat. I decided to add like a flinch to each enemy, so they don't before they were basically unstoppable because you attacked them and they didn't care, they just kept attacking, which made it very difficult to not lose life during facing anybody. Like this guy, I can flinch it a little bit when I attack him. You cannot flinch them consecutively or forever, but it helps to keep your health a little bit higher. You can also parry like before. You parry at the correct frame, you can parry. Also you can dodge like always, but I'm thinking about adding some energy cost to the dodge, because right now it's a little too easy to just dodge. You cannot spam it anyways. As you can see, there's a small cooldown, but you can still dodge or you can parry, which the enemy is gonna be flinch and you take no damage. Also, some enemies can inflict bleeding. Like right now, he just killed me with bleeding. Can inflict bleeding, like a slowdown with the cold damage, and they can electrocute you and they can burn you. I made it so that all the systems in the game are very customizable, so I can add any number of chances and things to any attack that the enemies and the players do. Also, the AI on these guys is really bad right now. They just follow you and they can jump. They can jump through obstacles, so you can have a small variety of the tileset. The tileset in the game is not gonna be like in other games. It's not really gonna be a platformer. You're gonna be platforming throughout platformers all over the place. It's gonna be more like a flat surface that you're gonna be fighting on. So I'm not really concerned about the vertical movement of the monsters. Only you can have small ledges and whatnot, but they can jump through those ledges, so that's not the problem. As you can see, you can parry things, you can attack in the air. These enemies are not I only finished this guy. As you can see, he's I finished the sprite work on that one, but the other ones are just placeholders, but they're working placeholders. Once I add all the required animations, I can add them into the game. So yeah, let me talk about a little bit about the code and I'll finish the video. Okay, so I'm just gonna explain real quick a little bit about the structure of my code. I haven't gone into detail at all before, but I'm just gonna show a little bit of how I'm doing it. I try to make it as modular and customizable as possible so I can make it easier for myself later on. Every entity, including the player, has a number of components which are mandatory. For example, the hurt box, the hitbox, and the throw hitbox, in case that entity can throw. It has a state machine. Every entity has a state machine, which has all the states that are mandatory for that entity. For example, the player has all the states. always gonna be here, and they're connected via code. I don't need to connect anything. I just tell, whatever components it needs at that specific state needs. I just tell it to, oh, the idle state needs the animator, so I just, reference it here. So that's all it has. It doesn't have the code of the player doesn't have any movement in it. It only has like sound effects and visual effects, and it just connects the signals of the techniques that it has. It doesn't really have anything specific. I wanted to make it so that every technique is separate from the main animator. The animation player it only has the regular movement. It has no techniques because this will be very clumped up. So what I did was I'm putting all the techniques in this node, the technique animators, depending on what techniques you have equipped. The techniques then are connected during runtime. They're connected to the states that it needs. For example, if I'm doing like a punch, it's gonna connect to the idle, to the die, and whatever animations it needs when it finishes, or whatever those animations need. So all the player does is just connect all the state machines to the signals that it needs, and you can add a technique here, which is basically just an animator. For example, this technique barrage, it has its own animator with the animations that barrage needs, and I can just animate it individually, and this animator is gonna be added in during runtime, and it's gonna be swapping between this animator and the regular animator every time it changes the states. Speaking of states, the state machine is really simple. It just makes it so that every time you change the state and enter a new state, it's gonna trigger a enter state and an exit state for every single one of the states. So for example, this one, when it enters, it's gonna do this, and then when it exits, it's gonna do this, and then every state has a physics process function, so I can handle any custom physics that I want. The enemies are the same. They have this enemy state machine. That's all they need. The hurtbox and the hitbox. That's it. And then in the database, you can add any number of attacks. For example, this guy, the collector. You can add them like this. Stomp, and all you need is just to add a state machine for the attack and the animation, and that's all it needs. It's gonna connect the state machine, and it's gonna switch the animator, depending on which one is using at the time. This is what took me the most time to come up with the system, and it was really necessary for the way I wanted to make the game. But right now, since I already have all this, it's gonna be a lot easier to keep adding enemies. The thing that is taking me the most, of course, is the art. This is the thing that takes me the longest. I make this guy in like 2 days, and this guy made it in 1 day. But of course, the idea is that I'm gonna have a lot of moves for the player, which is gonna take a long time because I have to animate every single move and add it as a state, and then I'm gonna have to do the same for the enemy, which means I'm gonna have to draw a lot of art. But yeah, I think that's it. I wanted to show a little bit of how the code works, since I never done it. You can ask questions if you want about the code, about how I did certain things. I'm not really good, but watching a lot of tutorials and whatnot, I come to the point where I don't need any tutorials. I'm very used to the code that I'm handling right now, and it works really well. I don't think I come across any problems, any things that I want to implement and don't work. I use a lot of dictionaries. That's the way I do it. Everything is saved in a database somewhere, like the infusions. All the modifiers that you get, it's saved in some dictionary somewhere. all the techniques, the damages, the chances that they have. Everything is saved in a dictionary. I don't know what else is to show. Comment what you think, and some ideas for the game. I know I haven't shown much, but I really wanna get to the point where I can show a little bit more of combat and how the progression works, because right now I only have one room just for testing. But this is gonna be a multi-room game with a lot of rooms connected with progression, more difficult enemies, etc. So let me know what you think. Please comment. See you later.